In the future, there will be a vibrant, self-sustaining human civilization on Mars. The high road to Mars is one built on a foundation of gracious professionalism, the bedrock ethos of the first robotics competition. The earthbound dreamers of today, who are working to open the high road to a future Martian civilization, are the ancestors of tomorrow's Martians. I'm Phil Turek, one such ancestral Martian. Look at what I'm trying to do by creating simulated Martian cultural ambassadors to act as positive social influencers to somewhat depolarize society here in the United States. Imagine how much even better it would be if the United States were to bring real Martian ambassadors here. Hello, everyone. Today is Martin Luther King Jr. national holiday here in the United States. He was a person who advocated strongly for fighting to correct social injustices in the United States, but fighting for it non-violently. Sometimes today it almost seems like the United States society has changed so much over the years that it's almost unrecognizable in some ways. There's a major political group now that sort of feels like they want to make change through violent means, and that's just not right, but that's what they feel they need to do. So today is the Iowa caucuses, which means it's the beginning of the presidential general election season here in the United States. This is going to go on for months. Each major political party does their own primaries for determining who's their candidate to put forward into the general election to become president of the United States. So we go through this once every 4 years. I'm going to share with you now a article, so stand by a moment. So the title for this particular episode, I'm calling it Advocate for Hopefulness. That I almost feel like Armageddon is a personal experience, not a collective one. Interesting idea. I've not heard anyone else share such a thought, but the idea is there's so much polarization going on right now that regardless of the outcome, which one person becomes elected president in the United States, for a good segment of the population, that's going to be viewed like an Armageddon type of event, like, oh, this is the end of life as we know it. And I think the world is going to continue to go on regardless of whether or not people perceive it to be an Armageddon event or not. That, you know, the earth is still spinning, the sun's still going to rise, life is going to go on. It might be, again, transforming quite a bit from how it was even 20 years ago, quite a different environment, but still there's going to be a tomorrow and a tomorrow after that. So what do you do? How do you cope and manage in a world that seems so different from what you would like it to be? So in terms of changes here in the United States, what does Alaska and Maine have in common? Besides being on opposite ends of the United States? Well, endpoints. So starting in 2016, I think the article said, Maine adopted this idea called ranked choice voting, where you put down not only who you vote for, but who's your second choice in case the first one doesn't make it. Where would you like your vote to go if, you know, it's going to go to the first person that you put down. But if it becomes mathematically impossible for that person to win, then instead of your vote being completely muted and discarded, what about your second choice? And so there's a very formal process to go through. I've done the exercise once. You would have to practice it, but this is something to do. Here's what Alaska is doing. It's this ranked choice voting, but now they've kind of embellished it a bit and said, okay, and the final four or maybe five candidates go on for the general election. I think that's how it goes. So there's a link to an article. It's in an Arizona publication, and you're welcome to study it. So why am I calling this particular episode, Advocate for Hopefulness? Because Armageddon or not, you're going to wake up and it's going to be the next day. This is something that you could choose to work on to make a social difference here within the United States. And the effect is, if you bother reading the article, the effect is it got parties, instead of ignoring the general population and focusing only on a narrow base for the purpose of winning a primary, this ranked choice voting mechanism is causing candidates to pay more attention to what the general population sincerely wants. And here in the United States, we still have this mindset that the majority of citizens in the United States are centrist, they're middle of the road, they're not extremists. They don't really want to go all the way to the far left and all the way to the far right. They want something that works well for everyone. Everyone gets along, compromises are made. Yes, compromises are made, and it's for protecting minorities in the population. That's what governments are supposed to be doing, protecting minorities from attacks by others. Right now, we're not going in that direction. But in Alaska, it's a success story, according to this article, that says they were very highly polarized political parties that were refusing to compromise with each other. It was always, it's us against them. And due to this ranked choice voting being implemented in the state, now the politicians are saying, well, we need to not just address the extremists, we need to actually pay attention to the majority of the people who are out there and voting for us, right? And that means getting votes from both major political parties. And, here in the US, it's two big parties and then a bunch of smaller ones for now. Okay, so for this week, uh, for myself, I always start these projects and then they kind of just pitter patter along and not really go too far. So here it is, January, and I haven't really made my case in a public venue for my Mars project. So this would be a good week to make some progress on that. I had been invited to give a talk on my Mars project and write an article to be presented to the Los Angeles chapter of the American Institute of Aeronautics and Astronautics. I actually have several high school students who are willing to assist me in figuring this stuff out. So for this week, it'd be nice to make some progress on my part of getting that article fleshed out a bit more and getting a talk fleshed out and getting on with doing something productive. I still need to actually reach out to the Mars Society and hit them up about, gee, can you make a small tweak to the way you run your summer competition? And just, I guess as a small improvement, I would suggest add 1 week to their current schedule and have that week where competitors become paired up as alliance partners for a final submission of their proposals. I have a group off in New York State at a high school. I have not reached out to them. I've just taken down the contact information. So there's a lot of stuff that I'm just letting go by the wayside, which I tend to do too much, right? I don't keep up on my uh, communications with friends and family as much as I should either. So there's my goal for this week. For you, regardless of how, if you're in the United States and you're a citizen and you're concerned about politics, uh, here's my one thought for you is that, okay, you kind of have to work your way out of the darkness that you feel we are in, if that's how you feel. And it takes effort and involvement. Just remember that we, like Martin Luther King Jr., his strategy was to be nonviolent. And it hurt, right? You turn the other cheek is not our normal reflex. If we're, if we're civilized, it might be. But if we're being more primitive, our reflexes tend to be more like, oh, political violence is good. No, it's never good. And it should not become normalized here in the United States. So we all have stuff to work on this week. I shared what I'm going to do. I hope you choose to do something productive as well. All right, signing off for now. Have a good week. Hi, I'm Phil Turek, an ancestral Martian born on Earth in the previous millennium. Please help me to open the high road between Earth and Mars in 3 phases. First, learn some of humanity's positive cultural traits here on Earth. Second, model them in a simulated Martian settlement that is vibrant and self-sustaining. Third, go to Earth as positive social influencers to put the meaning of the word united back into the names United States and United Nations. Thank you for your help.